All right, I got another bike check for you. This is another one of my personal bikes. This one is probably the same era as my Evil. I don't know if you've seen that. It's in another video. This is essentially sort of my first enduro bike, back when enduro bikes were, 160. I think this is 150 at the rear millimeters of travel. So I'll just go over this one. So this bike runs Raceface Carbon 6C bars, a fun stem. It runs the matching 6C cranks. I've got my favorite Wolf Tooth. So this is actually a spider and sprocket combo. So you attach the spider to the crank, and then you can change out your chain ring. So say you wanted a 30 tooth if you were going to do hills. I've got a 32. We've got a high mount chain guide on here. Pedals are these nice big XT. I think they're sort of 8000 series pedals. I have snapped, can't remember, did I snap the spindle? I have broken a pair of these pedals actually. So XT chain, mechanical XTR, and then what I run is I run a Goat Link here. So this is 11 speed. And then what I run is I run an 11 to 42 cassette, and then I run this extender cog by Wolf Tooth. And what you do is you take out the 15 and the 17 and you run a 16 tooth sprocket. And this is a Sunrace cassette, but what I have done in the past is, instead of using the Wolf Tooth 16 tooth, I've used a Shimano one, which matches up a bit better and seems to shift a bit better with the shift ramps, etc. So moving back up here, we've got Ergon grips, which are my favorite. This is my favorite shaped Ergon saddle. It's got a nicer shape to the other one on my other bike. The other one's quite flat. So if you're ever wondering about seats, right, this one you would say, so you've got flat, you've got curved, and then you've got seats that you sort of sit into, which is what this is. That has a profile that you sort of sit into it, into these parts on your sit bones. So as far as mountain bike seats go, that's my favorite. This one's running a RockShox Reverb. Not the biggest fan of these because, and I'll tell you why, right? So I think, I don't know, maybe I paid, did I pay $600? Maybe, let's say I paid $300, right, for this post. After a year it needed servicing. I was able to service it myself. Service kit was $60. But if you had to take that to go get serviced, it'd cost you $200 or thereabouts. And on my other bike, which runs an E13 post, I think the whole post was $200. So sometimes with these more expensive dropper posts, I'm not saying go for, on my cross-country bike, I run a very cheap Trans X seat post, and it's been fine. It's heavy, but then, this isn't the lightest seat post. So those are some things to keep in mind. But I really like this frame. So I'll show you how it works. So it's actually like a single high pivot. So the pivot's up here, and then what it's got in here behind the chain guide, if you can see, so the bottom bracket is attached to this gray piece here, and that's actually what actuates the shock. So this suspension design, and they don't use it anymore. I don't know whether the patent ran out on it, or I have seen a lot of these frames fail, and I'll show you. Actually, I can show you now. So what happens is the paint cracks through here. So what I've got is this grey stuff. I don't know what it is. I took it to a frame repairer. But essentially what happens is the frame cracks around here. And it's carbon here, and this piece in here is aluminium. It's very difficult to bond aluminium to carbon and it sort of stay together for a while. So what happens is the paint cracks around here, the bond or the aluminium corrodes away from the carbon and the bottom of the frame drops out. And I have snapped one of these frames before. Yeah, if ever you're looking at one of these frames, check for cracks. See, if you can see, it's been sealed right the way through there, just to prevent moisture getting in there and that aluminium thing corroding. So we've got a Monarch Plus rear shock. I think I've got three bands in there. Side mount bottle cage, one-up pump, and inside the end of the one-up pump, this is actually a Dynaplug doodad for plugging my tires, because I used to have a Schwalbe rock razor on the back, and it just used to puncture every time I rode. This is a Pike RCT3. No, it's not. It's a Pike RC, so just the basic one. I only ever ride it in open or locked out. I don't ride it. I know some people, they use this as like, they go 4 clicks and they use it like a high speed compression or low speed compression, but I just either leave it open or closed if I'm out on the road. My favorite tire, Wild Enduro Michelin 2.4. Now the wheels are Roval Traverse, so they're reasonably wide. I think they're 30 millimeters wide. I really like straight pull spoke hubs. I just think they look cool, and in fact I have changed the rear hub for a DT Swiss ratchet hub. You can see that down there. What else? Okay, rear tire is a E13. Now this model's LG1R, so I don't know, I forget what all these mean. My other Evil has this exact same tread pattern, so it's a semi-slick, but this must be a different compound or different sidewall or something like that. This one's a lot more worn. I did lend this bike to a customer, but this might be softer compound down the middle, I'm not quite sure. I'd have to look it up. That's the fun stem on this one, a little bit longer than on my other bike because this is kind of an older bike. Now here's one of the things. So I've actually got XTR cross-country levers with Saint calipers. And so what that does is, the Saint caliper is twin piston, is a large volume. The cross-country lever is quite a small volume. So these brakes have got quite a lot of modulation, and when people use them for the first time, they don't really like it because your engagement point it's a long way. It's like a little bit of brake to really you can really lock it up. So yeah, it's something that I really like. But if you, for instance, like Hope brakes with your levers set up with hardly any modulation, or if you don't like, say, Magura brakes, then this would not be something for you. What sort of... Oh yeah, I've got little titanium bolts sort of here and there on the stem and that kind of thing. I've got my Garmin mount on the stem, just a regular RockShox hydraulic lever. And that's about it. Fox mudguard. Yeah, that's right. So the fork uses a Luft Cap. No, what is it called? Vorsprung Luft Cap. So what it does is it increases the negative air chamber in the fork. So your positive chamber on the other side is from about here to say here, and your negative chamber is here. So when you, I'm not going to try and explain it, but it increases the chamber here. What it does is it makes the first 1.5 to 2 inches of travel nice and supple, and it makes the ramp up sort of in this last little bit quite steep. Now I don't run any tokens, you don't need to. This is about where my fork gets to, but basically it rides, you know, sort of rides fairly high in the travel, and then like to get it up sort of past here, it takes a fairly big hit. So that's about it. That is my, let's say 2016 GT Force X Pro. Yeah, Force X Pro. Cool. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.